Welcome back to How Football Works, where we've had some breaking news in regards to the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. It's to do with the vast prize money on offer, with the winners taking home, get this, up to a whopping $125 million and a total of $1 billion being spread across the 32 participating clubs. Is the Club World Cup, Stefan, now becoming a major tournament? If you think about that, I mean, Chelsea heading into this, who are in there because they won the Champions League in 2021, whatever you think about that. But I'm guessing if you're a Newcastle or a Villa fan or even a Forest fan right now, it's going to irk you a bit, given the fact that they could end up with such a massive amount of money that, of course, would go in as pure profit too.
Yeah, well, so there's a few different aspects to it. First of all, it's a massive boon for a club who are not in the Champions League this season, as we know, and who may not be in the Champions League next season. And that applies in the same way to City as well, who are also in there. So this is going to be a great mitigating pot of cash in the event that those clubs don't make the Champions League for next season. I think it becomes a major tournament simply because there's no doubt this is major money. I mean, the minimum that I think these teams are going to expect to get is around about $50 million minimum, because they're going to win a couple of games in those group stages. So they're almost certainly going to get to the round of 16 stage. So they're going to get 50. Probably most of that is going to be recognised if they wanted to in this current financial year. So it's going to make quite a material difference to a team that could be close to a PSR challenge. So that's great. And then the other twist, of course, is that Newcastle's owners are largely funding that $1 billion. So Newcastle's owners, PIF, have effectively put the $1 billion into DAZN, who have paid for the TV contract that has given FIFA the $1 billion to
and could end up bankrolling some of Newcastle's rivals in Chelsea and Man City.
and you know, a very serious problem for Newcastle when the prize is, you know, when there's only a small number of places you know, at the top of the table.
Is it also, do you think, Jamie, them trying to not just up the stakes, but actually maybe force the hand of some of these clubs to play their better players? Because we all know this is coming, you know, end of the season between June and July, and they've already played a lot of football.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm covering this tournament, and your opening question, is this now a major tournament? I think, in terms of prize money, you have to say yes. And so I'm really fascinated to go over there. You know, I'll be covering City until they're eliminated. You know, they may well win it.
How seriously do you think they'll take it?
Well, he said...
Will this have changed their plans?
This is really interesting. He said already he's going to take it seriously. He also did say, quite recently, Pep, that, you know, I hear there's some good golf courses over there. No, but he was making the point with regard to it's a long season, the players have to enjoy themselves, take their families and all the rest of it. So he's treating it that way. Now, if you think about it, maybe not all clubs will do this, but if there is a view that actually, yeah, you should bring your families and, you know, still treat it seriously, but be a little bit more pastoral, then that's going to level the playing field anyway, if you understand what I mean. So it's not like, you know, one club is sort of being really kind of quite strict and the other has been more sort of, as I say, balanced, if you want to put it that way. So I think he will take it seriously. I mean, you know, I think we all know Guardiola wants to win, you know, walking down the street against someone, you know, he's very competitive. So he'll want to win this. And so that's why I can't wait to see what happens here, because it's football anyway, but with regard to how the season ends and they go into this, I think there's a round of internationals actually before this kicks off. Their first game is the 18th of June. I'm going out on the Sunday before the 15th, I think it is. They've got 3 games: Philadelphia, Atlantic City, and I think Atlanta, then back sort of Miami region. They'll definitely get through the group stage, and you know, I think by the end of it, it'd be interesting to see what happens here. You know, I hope this doesn't happen. There's bound to be a major injury to a player, for example, right? Not necessarily Cities, I just mean in the tournament. You know, just by law of averages. What happens then with regards to relegations? Materially, probably nothing, but there'll be a hoo-ha about it. Oh, you know, look what's happened, this is what we're talking about. But at the same time, I sat through so many Guardiola press conferences, which he's complained about the schedule, but at the same time, he really wants to be in this and, you know, all the rest of it. And, yeah, I mean, I think they've been very clever with this prize money because, you know, as I said earlier, money talks, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the interesting thing, of course, is that the money, at the moment, the money that we know about is going to the clubs. And what we don't know yet is how are the clubs going to incentivise the players to take it seriously? So if you're a player that's just played a whole season, you're knackered, you're at risk of injury, it's all very well the club might generate $100 million, but in the reality is, unless you're seeing part of it, you don't really care.
Well, Rodri said that maybe players will have to go on strike generally about the volume of games, not this particular tournament, I don't think. He's obviously now injured, but I wonder if that's what he was getting at, because FIFPro, you know, the sort of the players' union, I wonder if that's actually what he was saying there. We need more money for doing this, rather than actually it's too much on our legs or whatever.
Yeah. Look, I mean, they're very well paid. Let's not get the violins out for the players too much, but there is a limit. But I just think in terms of specifically taking this seriously, you don't get the kudos of the Club World Cup because the club might generate $125 million. Those two things don't go. The value of the trophy and the medal for a player is going to be on a different level. It's going to be, one, the history of that tournament. OK, well, there's very little of this sort of tournament. And two, it's going to be on what you can be personally incentivised for. And maybe the clubs are going to have to give away huge bonuses to the players.
Well, I think they probably will. I think they probably will give them bonuses for winning it.
No, they will give them bonuses, but it's the scale of those bonuses.
Yeah, sure.
Are they meaningful in the context of the major players?
In fact, I mean, with that prize money, the players could probably go back to the club and say, "Can you up that bonus?"
It's probably going on as we speak. I need to get my digger out and start digging for this.
No, there'll definitely be negotiations around the bonuses, because partly a lot of this stuff may not even be in most of the players' contracts. So whilst you may have within the contracts some pretty clear parameters for what happens if you win a Premier League or a Champions League, you probably haven't got what happens if you win the 32-team inaugural Club World Cup.
If you're an agent worth that person's soul, the agent's soul, then you'd be looking at this, right? Because that's how they operate. That's how they
be knocking on the door.
Yeah. If we just look at the breakdown as well of this, the group stage, which is 3 matches, and like you say there, you'd imagine that those two Premier League clubs will breeze through them. It's $2 million per win, and then the round of 16, $7.5 million. Quarter-final, $13.1 million. Semi-final, $21 million. Finalist is $30 million. So, obviously, if you're winning, you're taking a lot of money home. But also, even if you get to those latter stages, it's still going to be a significant chunk. With that kind of money on offer now, Stefan, especially with Chelsea, especially how much they have spent and that they've been close to the line on PSR rules, can they afford not to take this seriously?
Well, I think their ownership may well take it seriously, but I think it goes back to what we talked about in terms of how do they incentivise the players to take it seriously. And that I think is the big unknown. I mean, they have talked a lot, Chelsea, about how their wage structure is completely different from all the other teams in that they've got this very high level of incentivisation. So maybe this is part of that incentivisation that's so different from the rest of the clubs. I mean, it's not yet borne out in the numbers that they're publishing at Companies House and through various reports that we've seen. Their wages still look very high despite a lack of incentivisation. But maybe this is what they're talking about. We will find out as to, that they are a team who's probably, of potentially all of the European teams, they may well be the best placed, just given the size of their squad.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they've already had the whole season, haven't they, where they've been able to play almost an entirely different team.
They've got 400 goalkeepers, 500 wingers. The only thing they haven't got is centre forward, right, Steph?
Yeah, exactly. I feel that looking at this, we did mention Newcastle a bit earlier and some of those other clubs who, I think, with Manchester City, it makes a bit more sense given that they've been in the Champions League, albeit not for very long this season. But obviously Chelsea, it is going to be, they've got to start it somewhere, and this will be what happens. It will always be the past four winners of the Champions League that there are in it. What is interesting, though, is I believe I'm right in saying that if Chelsea win it, it doesn't mean they then qualify for the next one. So maybe that's a crumb of comfort for those clubs. Would they have a bit of a right to be a bit annoyed by this, though? Do you think?
Well, I think the winners should qualify for the next one, but then the distance, I guess, between the two tournaments is great, and therefore, if you were to look at how they qualified for this tournament, if they were then to automatically qualify for the next tournament, it could be a whole decade since they won the Champions League that got them into the tournament. So you can see some reason why that wouldn't be the case, but it wouldn't surprise me if they changed that particular policy. They seem to be slightly struggling with compiling the 32 teams anyway, which is why we've ended up with Inter Miami in there as well, despite the fact that they haven't really won anything. So I think there's always room for them to tweak those sorts of rules. But it'd be incredible for Chelsea if they were to win it.
Yeah, absolutely. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Thanks for joining us here on How Football Works. See you next time.